The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, welcome to the webinar today. We will handle the topic Pandoras Box Keystone and Softedge. Welcome to our webinar. Martina will help me to assist and answer your questions. You can answer whatever you want in the chat, and she will help me and answer the questions.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you, Martina. Okay, welcome. Let's start. The webinar content today is about the geometric distortion and correction. And then we will talk about Keystone in Pandoras Box and where to use the Keystone, where not to use the Keystone. We will talk about the Softedge in Pandoras Box, the size of the overlap areas, and the content creation. At the end of the webinar, we will have a demonstration set up together, and we will do it step by step together to set up our Keystone and Softedge screen where you can see on the camera. So let's begin with the geometric distortion. What is this? When we are talking about projection, we are also talking about projection distortion. So how does it look like when you have a flat screen or a plane surface and you project on it? You will not have a rectangular shape. It's just a geometric shape. You can see here, for example, with the projector, and of course the content or the texture you're projecting on it, it's not accurate. It's not, you see the lines are not straight, and the shapes are having not their own shapes. So this is where we have to correct the distortion. So let's begin. How can we do it, and what we need for it, or what is necessary to know about this is that the goal of the geometric correction is to have at the end a rectangular shape which has the correct aspect ratio, and it should also fit the linearity. So everything should has its own shape. The lines should be aligned in horizontal and vertical direction. Also, the cycles should be cycled. So, and we also have to lose our space sorry, I'm quite nervous today. To be able to to use our limits in the projection and not losing so much pixels. So what is that? It should look like this at the end. So we have used the full space we could use to create a rectangle shape with the correct aspect ratio, and to have fitting lines, and also use our space and do not have the projection to scale it down, or to have a little projection. And how we can do the geometric correction, we can use the Pandoras Box Keystone. Pandoras Box Keystone is a function on the output on Pandoras Box. It has the player license and the server licenses. They have both the Keystone function. So and the Keystone function is always placed on the output. So here you can see I have here a Pandoras Box compact player with a dual license, and you can see the Keystone function there with many faders. So let's begin with a fader number 1. It is a number 1 is a left fader, and you can see next to the left fader there is a left rotation fader. So you have the possibility to move all the edges for left, right, top, bottom, and also rotate the edges to correct your shape to a rectangle shape at the end. And you can also see the linearity in X and Y faders for the correction in the texture to have a nice linearity. You can play with these faders. Of course, we need for the Keystone a test picture. The test picture is actually very helpful for us, so we can see. Actually, it's better to have a pixel raster or a grid with text and also with other shapes like cycles. And it should be also in the correct resolution. Actually, in the resolution your output is. So this is why I will use today this test picture. This is the pixel raster low with 1280 pixels by 800 pixels. So first of all, for the correction, we need to set up the border. Set up the border means just to fix the sides, the edges, for left, right, top, and bottom. After you have set up the borders, then you can set up the linearity of the picture, and we will do it together. So where to use Keystone? You can only use the Keystone on a plain projector surface. It is very important because the Keystone is limited by these faders, and it could be only good for the plain projection surface. So on a flat screen, on a flat panel, you can use the Keystone function. If you do not have a plain surface, if you have the arched or curved screen like here, or an uneven screen, then you have to use 2D warping. Hopefully we will have a webinar for 2D warping next time. Okay, let's go to the Softedge in Pandoras Box. What we can do with the Softedge in Pandoras Box is to blend between multiple projectors. And we have the flexibility to work between 0% to 100% overlap. So the Softedge in Pandoras Box is very flexible. And we have two alternative ways to blend. One of them is the classic Softedge blend by using the faders that I will show you on the next slide. And the other one is using the blend media parameter. The blend media parameter is used for example, for setups like Mystique, where Mystique is a camera for the Softedge and warp or Keystone calibration. It's an automatic camera where you can use the Softedge in Pandoras Box or connect it to the Pandoras Box outputs. And here you will need this blend media to load the Softedge blend image into this. But it is not a part of our webinar today, because we will take the classic Softedge today and do it together. You might have another webinar for Mystique or yeah. Softedge in Pandoras Box. So let's have a look into the parameters. You can see here the blend media, which we talk about that. And you will see many faders. For left, again, right, top, and bottom. For each of them, you have a left curve, a left marker, or a left wide. So every side, every edge has three other faders. So the side faders influence how much percent of the image is faded out towards the side, and the left fader, the left curve fader or curve faders controls the gradient in curve. So you have the individual gradient curve where you can control with this fader. And the marker. It is only this setup assistance, so it is showing us when it's turn on, then show us a line at the end of the gradient. So then you can see where you're moving your left fader or right fader if the marker is turned on. And the white is just the size of the marker. Okay. Let's go to the other step, size of the overlap area. The minimum overlap required is actually for 8-bit videos. It's a minimum value 256 pixels. It's always 256 pixels, so you can take for an overlap area, but it's not the perfect value. It's just a value you can use for a minimum overlap. Here I have some examples for you. For Full HD, for example, is the 256 pixels are actually 13% of the picture of the image. And the UHD is only 7%. So you can take always this value as a guideline to have it as minimum, but actually it's better to have a larger Softedge or calculate a larger Softedge because then you can have a better result and also be able to use it better and have a little bit, yeah, play around with it. Okay, let's go to our next topic, content creation. What is important for the project setup, or where you have to pay attention, is of course the projection angles and alignment, the surface you are projecting on it, the type of the surface. Is it a curved screen? Is it a flat screen? The adjustments you have to do, like warping, keystone, and having a designated overlap area. What is the native resolution of your projectors? Do a little test setup for yourself. And if you have all these informations when you're planning your project, then you can create the content very well. You have to know how much projectors you're using, the number of the projectors, and also the number of your machines or outputs, because you have to know if you need to split the content or to use it as a large texture. And you have to create test pictures, especially for projections where you have multiple projectors. Then you need a good test picture. And a test picture is actually created very well if you have some grids, if you have vertical and horizontal lines, shapes, text, and then you will have a good test picture. And of course, calculate large overlap, but also be careful when you have multiple machines, because you have to save also performance. That's very important. Any questions so far, Martina?
I'm sorry, guys. I muted my microphone. Yes, I do have a question. One is here, do I always have to split the content, or when do I start to do that?
Yes, that's a good question. If you have multiple machines, like you have multiple clients, then it's better to split the content, because then you can save more performance. But if you are at the beginning of your project and you don't know really how much machines you will use or how much outputs you have, then you can have a large texture and work with this until you get the information and split the content afterwards. Does it answer your question, Martina?
Yes, that's fine. I also have another question that we can maybe answer right here online. It's whether Pandoras Box can distribute content to different servers automatically, or whether everything has to be rendered specifically for one machine. So actually, it's two questions. The first one is how do I actually spread it to different machines, or how do I say this folder goes only to this one machine? And the other one is, do we have to render it specifically for one?
Do we have to render it for one? Of course, we have to render it, but I don't know what you mean by one. You mean if you have a large texture, or
it's actually, I think it's already answered with the first question. If you can render out a large texture and split it afterwards, you can do that, or you can render, or you can set up in your creation software that you can already just set up your output area in there. So you have the choice. It also depends on the video format that you are choosing. So for example, for image sequences, you can afterwards split them easily. For MXLs, for example, that were used for a long time, it's not that easy anymore.
Right.
And
that's right. Actually, we have had 2 webinars where we talk about the split content. It was the webinar from Thomas, where we talk about the camera settings and the split content and why they are so important and how we can set it up. And also the split content and virtual site webinar, where we talked about the splitter tool. This is a tool where we can import our image sequences, DDS image sequences, or whatever we have but only image sequences, or just a single image, and split it very easy in Pandoras Box splitter tool by creating regions for the split parts. That's quite easy to do it, but yeah, and if you have multiple machines, which was I think your first question, and you have to spread the content, if you have, it's better to you have two ways to do it. You can of course copy and paste the content part you need on the machine via your hardware, your hard drive to the machine just directly, or you can use the Pandoras Box Manager to spread your part into this machine. So it's on you how you prefer to do it. Do we have other questions, or should I?
There is one other question which, yeah, we can actually answer it right now here. Whether we have a Pandoras Box tool that creates test pictures.
We do not have a tool for creating test pictures, but there is in Pandoras Box there is a video recording tool. So if we have created a scene in Pandoras Box, then we can export it as a video or as one frame of a picture.
Okay, I think that was it for the moment. I think we can go on with your presentation, Pari.
Cool. So let's go to our demo setup today. I have 2 projectors and a compact player and my laptop. And the compact player is connected to 2 projectors via HDMI cables, and the compact player is connected to my laptop. So we will have a master client setup today. For our screen, which you can see on the camera here. So we want to set up the 2 projectors. It is a flat screen, of course. We're talking about Keystone, so we will do today Keystone. When we start the project at the beginning, just with a test picture with a pixel raster, then you can see the geometric distortion in both of these projectors. So that's what we have to fix. Actually, I have here the screen as my reference, so it's just the shape I can use. It's quite straight, and it's a help for me. But if you don't have one of these, you can use a laser for the straight line, or you can first of all, before you do anything, you can just create your region where you want to project and tape it if you do not have a laser. Okay, let's go to the output settings. You want to do Keystone, so let's open the Keystone function. Here there are, okay, Output 1 is our left side projector, this one. So you see if I move the fader here, I can see a fast movement. If you want to have a slow movement, you can just click one time in the value field and then holding the mouse and just, holding the mouse and slowly to move the mouse slowly to up or down. Or if you want to move pixel by pixel just very slowly, then you have to use the mouse wheel. And you will move it very slowly. Okay. Again, we have to work on both of these outputs, switching between the outputs to correct our geometric distortion. That's where I can here move the left side and then rotate it a little bit to be straight. Go to the end of the screen. From the top side, if I'm done with the left side, then I go to the top side, come slowly down, rotate it a little bit. Maybe we can see it better if I just turn off the opacity of the second output. So first of all, working on the first one. And the right side, of course, I do not have any reference here, but you can also use a laser. But here I didn't had one, so I just use my eyes here. And the bottom side should be also rotated a little bit. Now we have to switch to the second output. It was actually just a demonstration to show you how to do the borders. I have prepared something on the timeline for you where I have matched both of these outputs. So you see all the keyframes. I want to show you what I have done. So let's reset this. So first keyframe on my timeline is the RGB color. So RGB effect I'm using to identify the outputs, and it's on my output here. So just to show you a bit, we have to go to the Eon effects, and when we type RGB, then you will have a lot of effects are listed here. I actually use RGB multiply if I want to do something like this today. You can put the effect by drag and drop into the output. So if I drag and drop it again, I will have the second effect here, RGB multiply the second one. So I don't need it actually because I have one. So I will remove this one. Here, so just wanted to explain you where the color is coming from. I open my timeline, go to the Keystone, and here we see the first keyframe is for the left side. So let's have a look. Yep, seeing the movement. It's on the left side. Just put it on the correct place, and the next keyframe will be the rotation. And then the right side, the rotation of the right side. Let's have a little bit larger. Okay, you can see it, I think, better. Now, now we can go to the top side and the top rotation. So here you can see it's not really accurate. I can fix it when I go again to the rotation. So let's have these parameters there. The top side, top movement is not matching. So I move the fader again to come a little bit down. And save it as in the correct place. So the rotation is there, and the bottom rotation, bottom side, and the bottom rotation. Now we go. We are good with the borders, but we didn't we haven't done the linearity yet, because for this we will have to be aligned with the borders on both projectors, so on the second output as well. So let's have a look into the second output. The Keystone value. First of all, the left side, the left rotation, and then on the right side and the right rotation, top side and the top rotation, bottom side and the bottom rotation. So now we are good with the borders, first of all. So you can see here both of the borders are correct matching to the screen. Actually, not the top side of the green one. Let's correct it. Okay, better. Good. And now we have to do the linearity. For the linearity, we have to work on both of the outputs, but I want to show you how does it look like if I take the camera a little bit to the front. So you see the cycle is looking like an egg. The middle one of them is bigger than the other one, and this one. They are not looking like cycles. So we have to fix it by the linearity, by working with the linearity. Sorry, I think I moved the projector a little bit. Okay. So go to the next point, the linearity in X for both of the projectors and the linearity of Y for both of the projectors. Now it looks a little bit better. The tops and the bottom side of our first output is not looking really nice. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, because I've just moved a little slightly the projector. Okay. Well, we are now also done with our linearity. Let's have a look again with the camera, comparing the cycles and the rectangles and the lines are quite the same. So we will go to the next part, which is the camera setting. So for the camera setting, we have to see at the beginning, it's just both of the cameras are looking into one texture at the same position. So this is why we can see the texture twice. Here we have to go, we have to select both of the cameras, and we have to move the lens shift of the camera to be able to have one picture or one projection. So for this, I will use the align function to move both of these cameras together. And of course, it's a lens shift X offset because they are the projectors are placed only in X, so they are beside of each other. There, I move it. I can align them perfectly in the overlap area and see the picture only one time, as it's looking also here in the preview. So this part will be my overlap area. That's what I have done here already. I have already created a keyframe there. So I just reset it and jump into this keyframe. So let's do the Softedge together. For the Softedge, it's better to have a white picture because then you can see the Softedge area very well. And you can see also the color difference between the projectors. For this, we have again to go back to the output parameters and turn on the Softedge. So we need the markers. The output number 1 is actually the left side output, I think. So I will just turn on the marker. You cannot see it now because I didn't move it, but it's a wrong marker. Again to the right side. Right marker. Yeah. Now you can see the line. It's the end of my gradient. and the end of my gradient from the right side should match the end of the Softedge area. So that's more or less 25%, or approximately. Here you can see the marker is helping me to identify the lines. So when I move it back again, I can see the beginning of the Softedge area. So I move it again to the left side, and I just copy this value and reset the fader again, because I want to know where my Softedge area begins and where its end. So there I go again to my output number 2. Open the Keystone Softedge again. That's sure the next left side. Yeah, that's a little bit. That was too much. Okay. Go back a little bit. Cool. Now I have this value and I can reset the marker here. And I go back again to my output number 1 and paste the right value because I don't need it anymore, and reset the marker. So you can see the color difference is very bad here, because one of the projectors are very dark and the other one is very bright. What I have to do here is I can work a little bit with a curve faders, but it wouldn't help me to match the color difference between both of these projectors. So what I can do is to take the bright projector and make it a little bit darker to match match the color of the Worcester projector. So first of all, if I do it, I just save my, oops, which fader is it? Oh, there, sorry. Good. I've just saved my Softedge parameters. And now to make the projector darker, I can use some RGB effect to do it. Think, which one is it? This one. Yep. You have to play around a little bit with the RGB effects, or use other RGB effects to yeah. Actually, in reality, it's looking better than in the camera. Now we're just changing the factor. But let's have a look here. the difference between wow, camera picture is not really good. But now the difference is better. Than before. That's too dark. And this is, yeah, this is what we can work with. Actually, it looks a little bit darker in the camera, but it isn't in the real. Let's a little bit brighter. Yeah, better. Okay, we save it here. Now I take my flat screen, flat picture, flat background picture. Into my layer. So you will see this picture is a little bit smaller than what I have done with the cameras and the screen. See, I can scale it a little bit up to match the X scale of the screen. It's just a few clicks. And I can save it here. So fine. Any questions so far?
There were some, but I've answered them already using the
thank you.
this answering feature. One was actually which I've answered right now, that you are planning to do another video on the mesh editing. So, for example, when you're not really how to say when you're not satisfied with the Keystone results, so that you see that some areas of your picture are still not overlapping perfectly, and in that way you would use actually a mesh, and for example also set up more mesh lines, and this can be then done with the mesh editing mode in the preview, and this would now be too much for this webinar, so we are planning another one for this.
That's right. That's a good idea. We will look forward to do another webinar for the editable mesh mode, and if you wish, also the UV mapping mode in the preview. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. But for today, let's have a look. If you do not have any questions to the setup or how I have done it, then I go back to my presentation again, and just for the reminder, what we have done for the Keystone. We have set the borders, first of all, the edges, the rotation of each side, to create the rectangle shape. And then afterwards, we have set the linearity in X and Y. Afterwards, we have done the camera settings, and it was actually only the lens shift in this case, the X offset. And after that, we have done the Softedge by using the markers and switching both of them from the left side or from the beginning of the Softedge area to the end of the Softedge area. And then we have reset the markers because they are only the setup assistants. And the fine-tuning at the end, which was actually on the RGB effect, but you can also do the fine-tuning a little bit with a curve fader, but in this case we didn't need it very much. So but you always have the possibility to play a little bit with the curve faders to do the fine tuning to get the perfect result. Yeah, I think I'm done for today. If you do not have any questions, then you will close the webinar, but please leave us a feedback on our forum. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us to our support mail, support.pandorasbox@kirstydigital.com. And yeah, visit our Kulux website. And if you missed the webinars, you can always have a look into the YouTube channel. We will upload them on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Martino, for helping me today.
It was my pleasure, Pari. Just wanted to add, when we are closing the webinar, we are Pari and me, we will still be online for a couple of minutes. So whenever another question pops up, you can write it to us and we will answer it. I think this will be it. We will see or hear us tomorrow with another webinar.
Right. It's your turn tomorrow, Martina.
Bye, Pari.
Bye.